Welcome back to yet another episode of the Other series, where it's our opportunity to venture a little out of the normal structure, and today we're talking Marvel trailers. But of course, I implore you send your own suggestions on our Discord if there's a topic you'd like to see, as admittedly, we're not as prepared for this series at the moment. Still, yes, movie trailers. They suck, don't they? Take it from the guy who actually puts in the time to overanalyze these things frame by frame. More often than not, they're tropey, manipulative, and boy do they spoil just about everything along the way. It's to the point sometimes trailers just seem like hyper-compressed versions of the entire film start to finish. And don't even get me started on the micro trailers before the trailers. But while I have a particular way I would like my trailers to be, there is actually a small glimmer of respect I can have for one of the largest mass-produced film series at this time. I am of course talking about the works of Marvel Studios. Surprising for a mega conglomerate mainstream machine that consistently plays it agonizingly safe compared to their source material, the same company that has many reviewers who see film as an art form pulling at their own hairs over the lackluster quality that comes from them. Strange for this company to be the source of respect to me, but this is all because of their simple dedication to trick us. Marvel is such an epicenter of over-analytical superfans, hi, I'm one of them, that of course, in order to avoid theories spoiling everything, Marvel trailers nowadays are built specifically in order to throw off fans from coming straight to the film's conclusion before it's even released. Now, there's some pretty famous examples you likely clicked on this video already knowing, but it turns out as I dug more into it, there's only more and more discrepancies to be found. So come join me as we skim through just a handful of films and how their Marvel trailers lied to you. Of course, the motive is something I can totally get behind, but it sounds way better if I phrase it that way. So today we're going to switch between 5 Marvel films: Spider-Man, Guardians, Doctor Strange, Thor, and of course a bit of Avengers as well. You'd be surprised just how many tricks and changes there have been implemented. In fact, we'll count them. So category number 1, unfinished footage. The smallest type of discrepancies prevalent in all sorts of trailers, but I figured it would be interesting to witness nonetheless. In Spider-Man Homecoming, there's this shot of a man cheering on Spider-Man as the boat splits in half that in the real thing has actual spider webbing obscuring the frame. It seemed to work without it. In Thor Ragnarok, the trailer shows us most of the first Hulk interaction, but while we see the uppercut as the first hit of their fight, in the real thing it is much later on as Thor's had time to power up with lightning and everything. Also from Thor, when he first crash lands after events, the portal in the sky is massively different in the final version. Of course, these kind of shots were still in production when these early trailers came out. When Gamora and Quill kiss in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, the lighting is different, as is a common theme with Guardians for some reason. Same here with Gamora's hair blowing everywhere from an explosion on Ronan. A very minute detail from Thor Ragnarok, this shot. Doesn't play out like that in the film, it's inverted and no lens flares have been added. Literally only I care. Here's one more inverted shot from Guardians, Quill putting away his gun in the opening. Mirrored shot! Mirrored shot! And he doesn't say cannonball here. It's a bad idea anyway. And hey, we haven't heard from Doctor Strange yet. I guess that film has bigger reveals, but here's a mini one. Here's Strange walking into his apartment with a change of color grading. Crazy. And our final early footage take comes back with Doctor Strange with this purple cityscape, which is drastically altered to become the dark dimension in the final act. Alright, so those are the kind of things you'd see in any given trailer, and you've probably forgotten them already. I know I will. So our next category is the fake match cuts, where the editor of the trailer intentionally combines shots that just don't go together. The most common example you'll see is mashed up dialogue, such as this example from Doctor Strange.
I've spent so many years peering through time, looking for you.
This is just not true for a start. The Ancient One has no troubles finding Strange, but also in reality, this is 2 lines of hers merged. The years she spent peering through time was in reference to her final moments. Doubt any Marvel analysts predicted that from the trailer. How's about some Infinity War finally, the one you probably know some of the tricks with? Here's a match cut of Thanos jumping in Titan to land on Cap's hand grip, clearly fake anyway, but it's there. With Spider-Man Homecoming, they were more subtle, with Peter standing up on a rooftop to match a shot of the old Avengers Tower. Instead, this shot was taken from Peter doing a backflip.
Okay, Spider-Man, don't flip! Yeah!
And in the Guardians prison fight, after Gamora's kick, you're told Star-Lord is there, but nope, these are 2 entirely separate events. And a final big one that you'll definitely notice on rewatch, Infinity War. When Gamora's expositing Thanos' plans, it's match cut with Iron Man on board talking. This is actually two separate conversations in New York and space. Really obvious now, but at the time, maybe not so much. Cool. And that's all for match cuts. Now it's time for the nitty gritty. Entirely different takes next. These will be unique just for the trailer. In Spider-Man's trailer, they full-on spoil the final shot of the movie. But it's a different take, as Aunt May isn't actually there to hit the punchline of the ending. You'd never tell what this shot was for. Meanwhile, at the very start of Guardians, there's more shots of Star-Lord's heist, with this angle of his light ball on the ground being extended from the final thing, as well as this dumb-looking side view of his that also doesn't make the final cut. And, wow, there's a lot of Guardians content here. When we see everybody's mugshot and their brief explanations, the trailer's versions of their descriptions are notably different for each character than the main movie. Sometimes it'll be a single word in the case of Groot.
Groot has been traveling recently as Rocket's personal houseplant / muscle.
They call it Groot, a humanoid plant that's been traveling recently as 89P13's personal houseplant / muscle.
Or in the case of Gamora, the trailer entirely omits the connection to Thanos at all. Check it out.
Gamora, soldier, assassin, wanted on over a dozen counts of murder.
Gamora, surgically modified and trained as a living weapon. The adopted daughter of the mad titan Thanos.
Also, Drax isn't in this scene. Canonically, he's already in prison. On to Doctor Strange, and as he broods against his apartment window, the trailer replicates what he does in the movie, but the final cut uses an entirely different angle. Neat. Back to Guardians again, because James Gunn just filmed so much content apparently. In the trailer, Ronan chokeholds Drax at different angles to what we get in the real thing. And similarly, this action shot of Drax kicking a guy in the head in prison isn't the angle they really go with, as the actual thing cuts away to this angle instead. In Doctor Strange, we're once again jumping to spoilers at the end of the movie with the reveal that Mordo leaves the group unsatisfied. Of course, we don't know the context in the trailer, but still, this wider angle doesn't make an appearance. And this shot here of the Ancient One standing in a space is a faintly extended take of this shot, just before Mordo pops up. And at the start of Doctor Strange, Steven obviously crashes, but the teaser trailer highlighting the moment is completely different, really digging into the moment and making it more artsy. We get right to the point in the final thing. Back to Spider-Man, and here's alternative takes to his identity being discovered by Ned. Clearly the final version wasn't picked by the time the trailer was used. Or maybe someone thought it would sell better this way. I don't know. Similarly, the ADR for Spider-Man is different in this bank robbing scene. Every bit with Stark and Peter in the car are different takes of the real thing. When Thor's all chained up at the start of Thor Ragnarok, the trailer has this bird's eye view that didn't appear ever. And at the final act, the giant wolf and the Hulk roar at each other, but only really in the trailer. The angles aren't so direct in the final cut. One more Guardian shot. In a fight with Drax, these two goons are flung over his shoulder, and I struggle to find it. I guess it's this shot done in a faintly different way, but there you are. And as a final thing for this category, we have Infinity War.
And get this man a shield.
Obviously, the match cut is fake enough and pretty obvious, but even the delivery and setup is different.
Evacuate the city, engage all defenses, and get this man a shield.
There's all sorts of reasonings for a different take being used, but now it's time for the faintly malicious stuff. Next category is the small-ish lies. Not quite the full-scale deception, and they don't really affect the narrative being told, but they're notable to point out. Starting off, this bendy building in Doctor Strange. It's true that it exists in an early battle in the movie, but seeing the villains jumping off of it and landing? Nope, you don't see that at all. At least not in the edit. In the lands of Asgard, Hela's appeared with a dramatic walk with her cape, and while the moment's real, this is just a fancy money shot for the trailer. The background when Quill gets the orb is outside rather than in the tomb. Doctor Strange owns a piano and can't play it anymore, but seeing him play it all in the before times? Not here. We skim too quickly and he sells it before redeeming himself. Hey, here's a pretty big one. In Infinity War, there's this shot of Iron Man looking spectacled, taking off his spectacles. Kinda weird. Well, it turns out this is him facing off against Ebony Maw, and he's actually activating his nano suit. This is the take without the CG. Does this count as an unfinished? here's Valkyrie at the end of Thor Ragnarok sliding with her blades on the Asgardian bridge. In the real thing, she's hiding a lot of spoilers. The destruction of Asgard, who she's fighting against, and the knives aren't even there. In the middle of Spider-Man, the trailer leads you to believe the Vulture dives through the boat and splits it in half, when in reality, it's actually his weapon malfunctioning, and Vulture leads through another route. This circling shot of Ronan I couldn't find, and when Valkyrie delivers Thor to his chair, the trailer puts the shots of the two of them the wrong way round in order to sell the narrative more clearly in less time. Also, the lasers hadn't been added in just yet. No one really cares if the shots are rearranged though. When Spider-Man and Doctor Strange meet up in Infinity War, we know the dialogue of the interaction.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using your made-up names. Then I am Spider-Man.
But that's not actually the take they used.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using your made-up names. I'm Spider-Man then.
I noticed in cinemas. The New York rotation shot is sped up for the trailer. As you're going to learn soon, you should never trust the final money shots, but this one from Infinity War was Spider-Man scrambling through debris. While real, there's no spider arms or mantis in the trailer. Guardians getting a 180-degree spaceship shot? Nah. And again, on the theme of spoiling the epilogue, this line here...
Something good, something bad, a bit of both.
Actually takes place as Quill is describing their next adventure after the events of Galaxy 1. And jumping to the final battle of Doctor Strange, there's this CG'd double shield shot. In the real thing, I don't need to tell you, pretty clear. There's just one shield and a totally different color. In Spider-Man Homecoming, there's a purple explosion atop the Washington Monument, but the trailer will tell you it's a much bigger explosion. We don't get this shot. Is it a late game change or a trick to the viewers? I was really hoping the appearance of Thanos on Titan in the trailer was actually appearing in Wakanda, but not quite. The background is slightly different though. And Star-Lord climbing in the rain is a slight over-dramatization of the real event at the end of his opening. As is Nebula choking this guy with her blades. It happens, but we don't see this angle or movement. Man, they really pick up the lies as we continue on, eh? That same trailer will also show you this slow-mo shot of the Guardians somewhere downtown, where they do end up, but not in slow-mo. And here too, there's no slow-mo. And similarly, this line...
Are you telling me the fate of 12 billion people is in the hands of these criminals?
Gotta bait the trailer watchers.
This might not be the best idea.
Also doesn't appear. Best character Heimdall has a fight in the forest, but this exact example doesn't actually make an appearance, ironically enough. And Thor retrieving his axe in Infinity War has an extended expression of that scene in trailer-exclusive form. The final cut just moves on after his fingers twitch, but to tell it better to trailer audiences, here's him fully reinvigorated with Rocket and Groot watching and all.
Wow.
Stark doesn't say wow in the real scene. Thor screams at a different angle, and there's no Power Stone, a completely different context. Thanos doesn't use his left hand here, that's for the gauntlet.
Fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe, but this does put a smile on my face.
I don't think Thanos actually says this.
Forget the flying monster guy. There are people who handle this sort of thing.
Isn't said at Avengers HQ, and the line is actually different.
Look, forget the flying vulture guy, please.
Similarly, here's civilians freaking out in Spider-Man Homecoming over the elevator crashing at the monument. In the movie, it does fall, but we don't see its impact. Is it a fake scene, an alternate take? Deleted? I'll put it in the middle as a small-ish lie. Believable, but unseen, really. Same thing with Hulk here reveling in the sun outside, which we don't see in Thor's final act. Oh, congrats for making it this far in. Now it's time for the big boys. This final category is the entirely fake scene category. This is the stuff you may have heard of before that are especially there to throw you off the scent to deceive you from spoiling yourself. And there's some you don't know too, trust me. Starting off hot off the hype of Captain America Civil War, you're led to believe Peter Parker is watching footage of that Civil War fight on his laptop in class, when in reality, it's his own Spider-Man content. Here's a big one that's hard to miss, Thor and Hela in an alleyway. I originally thought this was some god-level compositing on a whole new set to throw everyone off, but it turns out this was just an entirely alternative scene filmed early on, until it was chosen to switch things up for narrative reasons. Still, it's fair to say it threw a lot of people off from their experience of the trailer. Following up, we have, of course, the other Thor tweak that was his functional second eye. In the real thing, it was slashed away, but we don't want to spoil that. So it was redone. Since Drax isn't here, this lineup is a total fake-out. And while we're on the topic of the incredibly obvious changes, why not next hop onto the one that started this whole conversation in the first place, the big ol' money shot in Infinity War. What a giant lie that all was. I mean, Hulk prevalent at all? Huh. Total deception. But we're far from done with examples. Along with boosting up the final money shot of trailers, there's also been a motif of topless marketing across these trailers. We see Strange topless, Thor topless, Spider-Man topless, and of course the meme-ified Quill one too. But do you remember this one? Going a step further with a topless Gamora too. No, it doesn't happen. Nor the connected shot of a six-packed Quill seemingly reacting to her. It's just some ballsy marketing. And they never did it again. Here's a more subtle fake shot. Hela, in the past, turning her head. Not a crazy shot, but not used either. The others do plenty. And though we've already had the lightning money shot in Thor, there was also this 4-piece money shot on the bridge, which is also a complete lie. They're never all this close together. Loki flies in for the destruction plan on Asgard, and Hulk is miles behind, or miles up high at this time. Not real.
I've just gotta do this on my own.
Neither is this. Here's a shot from Infinity War of Bruce and Black Widow looking up at the sky, which plausibly could happen when the invasion begins above, but we never get it. Similarly, there's this shot of Bruce by the Hulkbuster arm reacting to Black Widow, but they don't meet here, nor do we see this set piece. This shot doesn't exist at all, nor does Aunt May end up in a classroom. Here's another you've probably seen before. Thanos has way less stones than in reality in this timeline. This one's pretty easy to justify. It hides the spoilers of what's been done and actually recontextualizes where anything is supposed to take place. While this next one is just bait. Remember that shot of Spider-Man swinging alongside Iron Man through the neighborhood? Yeah, you never saw that in the movie, did you? Similarly, there's this mysterious shot of Quill at an opening door out to space that never gets used. Back to Hela again, and here she is spinning wildly and spreading knives across the bridge. I guess this was just too OP as a move, so she got nerfed. Nothing more to add there. Here's Loki on a seemingly different bridge considering the foliage on either side. Also not real, and neither is this money shot moment anyway of him flipping his knives. Never trust a money shot.
You need to stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders.
While this is a nice sentiment from Aunt May, she doesn't find out about his identity in Homecoming. Mostly. What the f— And this emotional angle doesn't happen specifically from this scene. It's just there for the trailer. And also isn't what Peter's moping about. Alright, final 3, let's do this. Ooh, here's a good one. Gamora reaching out on a falling building part or something? Well, actually, this makes way more sense with a good color palette. It's the Infinity Stone sequence, hidden in plain sight. Over to Hela for one final distraction.
Asgard is dead.
Not what she says. She's really talking about the royals and confronting Asgard for the first time.
My father is dead. As are the princes. You're welcome.
Something they probably didn't want to infer so early. And the final fake scene that might have gone over everyone's heads, it has been 5 years by now, takes us back to the reveal of Doctor Strange and his first interaction with magic. We now know it was a warped Super Mario Bros. Ripoff, but what the trailer tries to tell us was that he was shown the mirror dimension during his desperate times. Absolutely not. The costume might be the same, it might be pretty clear where that's to be placed in the timeline, but it's fake. Mirror dimension's real. This scene was a trick. So now you know. Never trust a money shot, expect many variations, things aren't always finished, and a match cut means nothing. Maybe we should consider re-evaluating those new Marvel trailers with these tricks in mind. I personally do it when one comes out over on Twitch, or edited on DazzReviews highlights, so consider giving it a look. Or see our TikTok where this is a full-on series going even deeper into examples. Otherwise, sorry to have burst your Marvel bubble, but compared to the predictable crap every other trailer produces, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. For now, maybe I'll find another 95 lies. My name's been Dazz. You didn't really care. Next week we've got a terrible video of a character that doesn't have feet. Give a guess on our Discord, and I'll see you in a bit.